This is a Nikon D3000 entry-level DSLR that was first released in 2009, which means effectively this is a 15-year-old camera, but I think this particular model is 14 years old, and I've got an extended loan on this camera, and that's why I'm able to do a review on it. And if the owner's watching this, then I promise you I will be giving the camera back to you fairly soon. And as a sweetener, what I've done, I've bought this lens cap because I was borrowing it without a lens cap, and if you're interested, I paid just over £1 or $1 for this lens cap. And what I'll do, I'll put a link to where I bought this in the description below. So if you need a lens cap and you don't want to pay the extortionate amount of money they charge on Amazon or any other photo shop, then I'll put a link and you can get these fairly cheap, and it's fairly easy. So in this video, I'm going to do a review of this camera, put it through its paces, and try to give you an idea of what this camera is like and if it's a camera that you would be interested in buying. I've come out to the Lincolnshire Wolds to try out this camera, and the Lincolnshire Wolds is an area of outstanding natural beauty and one of my favourite places in Lincolnshire. It's not quite a national park, but it is a beautiful place, and being an area of outstanding natural beauty, it has certain rights afforded to it. For instance, land use and building. And the nice thing about it is it's got these beautiful rolling hills. It's full of nice wildlife. Although it doesn't have those mountainous areas that many places have, it's still a beautiful, lovely place to come and take photos, and exactly what I'm going to do with this Nikon. For this image, I really like this lovely view of this rolling hills, and there's a nice fence just down there, and just beside it there's this fallen or sunken in bit of hillside that just gives that extra little bit of interest, that extra feature. So I'm going to use obviously the Nikon D3000. I've got 1/60 of a second, f5.6. I've set the camera up on around about 35mm, so I'm going to take that shot now, and I'll take a couple of different shots at different focal lengths just to get the right one. So I'm going to give that a shout now, and there you go, there's your, and I'll show you those pictures, whatever ones I take, in a second. So yeah. I think I'll start with the less good things about this camera. It was released in 2009, so as I said, it's 15 years old, and it's 10 megapixels. So 10 megapixels, is that good or bad? I'm not sure. For most of us, 10 megapixels is perfectly adequate. We can take some fabulous shots with 10 megapixels. So you could argue it, compared to modern standards, 10 megapixels is low, but it's good enough. It's got a flat screen, flat fixed screen. It doesn't do movies, so if you think you might want to do some movies with this camera, you can't because it doesn't have movie option. It only takes 3 frames per second, so it's not really even got a burst mode. You could almost take 3 frames per second with your finger on the button, so in a sense that's not ideal. Its ISO range goes from 100 to 1600, and compared to today's cameras, that's super low, but still, because it's got a CCD sensor in it, those 10 megapixels possibly will be all right at night. So it's there's pros and cons, and it does bulb 30-second exposures, and then right up to 1/2000th of a second, which once again, compared to modern standards, 1/2000th of a second isn't a lot, but still is probably what most of us use anyway. So you might not even need to go beyond that. The truth is, it's a camera. It takes photos. It takes photos reasonably well. And yeah, what more do you want? As I said, it's not got a flippy out screen. You can't see any sort of live view because it is an SLR. The fact that it's an SLR, it means it's got a mirror in there. That mirror flips up and then enables the shutter to see the light, as opposed to the mirrorless cameras that we have mostly today. Doesn't have that mirror, and To me, although lots of people think that or like the single lens reflex cameras, personally I don't see any difference between a mirrorless and a single lens reflex. The suggestions that an SLR you get better quality images, you might do, but I think it's so tiny it's hard to notice. As I said, doesn't have hardly any buttons, so you're kind of having to do lots of things through the screen at the back. Although the screen at the back is great, I really like the layout, the look of the screen and what it shows you. It comes with the 1855 kit lens, so it's not a bad lens. It's good enough. It's good enough for this camera. So I think all in all, they're the negative things about it, and let's just have a chat about the positive things and what makes this camera worth having. This could be a really nice image here, with looking back the way I've come at the rolling hills, and it's got there's a drum there and a bit in the foreground or in the midground. It's got this line of these tracks that look all right to me. I'll take a nice picture and we can see how the Nikon D3000 goes taking this image. Once again, I have gone with 1/80th of a second f5.6. I think that's quite nice. It's quite a bright sky. That's why it's giving me 1/80th of a second, just to stop it down a little bit. But I'm going to try and I'll take that now, and I'll show you me taking it, and hopefully we can have a look at that in a second. Here goes. Nice and easy. If they are the negative things about this camera, what's good about it? What makes this camera worth having? Well, the main overriding factor about this camera is its price. So I would expect you could buy this camera for about $50 or £50, hopefully with the 1855 kit lens. And if you're someone that's looking to move up from phone photography, even if you've got the latest iPhone, it could well be worth buying a camera like this just to try to understand how photography works, how cameras work, and how the settings work. And this camera will do just that. It will provide you with an opportunity to understand photography much more than you would do if you pointed and clicked your iPhone and just took a photo. You'd get something good out of this camera. It's got all of the settings that you would expect from a camera. So it goes into manual mode, aperture priority, shutter priority, program mode. It does all those things. But more importantly, it's got what is called a guide mode. So you can put it into guide mode, and it gives you some instructions on what all the settings are, what different settings that you could use to take your photo, which is really good because you could use that to learn your photography, to understand, because it will guide you through all those things. Of course, it's got all the scene modes that you would expect from a camera. Even though this is 15 years old, it's got all the things that we're used to. So in that sense, it's really good. It's got a nice metering mode, so you could have evaluative metering. You could have center-weighted metering or spot metering. It's easy for me to say, isn't it? And generally, it's just a good camera. It goes into auto, so you can put it on auto fabulously. It uses SD cards, which is fantastic. It doesn't use STXC, and you can only go up to 32 megabytes, but 32 gigabytes, but it still uses SD cards, which is fab. Much better than the Canon 400D that I use, which is a bigger thing. So yeah, that's good as well. And I really love the menu system, even though it's not got any buttons on the back. I just really like the way the menu system's laid out, and I wish Olympus could make a menu system like this. It's also got 11 autofocus points, which I think is really good when you think about the camera and its age. 11 autofocus points is great, and you compare it with the Canon cameras that I've reviewed recently that have 9 autofocus points. I know they're a slightly different age, but they're quite similar. And it is all pretty much exactly the same size and look and feel as the Canon 400D that I'm often using. It's fully plastic. It's not metal, so it doesn't have that robust sort of heavy weight that you often get. But the plastic is perfectly okay. It's perfectly usable, and I don't think you'd notice the difference, to be honest. We've had so much flooding in Lincolnshire over the last sort of 4 to 6 months, and I really unexpected to see this waterfall. That's a road just at the top there, and this, I don't think this should be a waterfall, and I think it's just it's coming down unexpectedly. I cannot resist trying to get a picture of this. It's not overly attractive, I admit. It's not a grand mountain fall or anything, but for Lincolnshire, this is the best waterfall I've ever seen in Lincolnshire. So I'm going to explore this. I'm going to use the Nikon D3000 as well. I brought the tripod with me as well, so I can do some long exposures, and I'm going to try and get a nice shot of this waterfall. I can't resist it. I'm just trying to find the best composition. I've had a little walk round. I've taken one photo. I'm a bit nervous though, because just over there, over that little rise, there's a gang of farmers, and this is private land. So I'm not actually sure if I should be here. So I'm going to try and be as quick as I can and take as many shots as I can. So I might not capture them all on video, but I'm going to try and set this up really close. Hopefully I don't get the camera wet, and I'll take a close-up shot really close in. I've got the camera on the tripod, so that should enable me to have a really shutter speed. I've just got a nice shot because I've got this nice moss in the foreground, and you just see the moss on the background and the waterfall coming down. And I think it looks really nice, and I'm hoping this comes out really well. I'm going to take a shot of this my Olympus because I think it's such a nice little view. I'm going to give it a go. The thing about waterfalls is you often don't really need a long shutter speed. A quarter or half a second is usually good enough, because the brightness in the water, the light, it is so bright you don't need a long shutter speed. And if you do a long shutter speed, you tend to blow out the white, and you really want the detail in the white at the bottom of the waterfall where it hits the water. That's usually the brightest spot, and you really want that to be spot on, perfect exposure, and not too bright. If you have them too bright, it blows it out and it ruins the shot. So I'm going to take this now. It's splashing a little bit, so I'm going to have to get my mica cloth and just wipe the front of the lens, and I'm going to try and take this shot here now. So I'm going to get it on as wide as I can. I'm going to have to get back a bit because I'm too close and I can't see that moss. So let's see if that's any better. Yeah, that's spot on. So that's a quarter of a second. Maybe it's a bit too overexposed or underexposed, sorry. So I'll just try another one. That's looking nice. I'll show you that. I'll show you that now. Sorry, I can't really show you what I'm doing, but I'll show you that pretty much now when I've taken this. I'd like to try a shot from distance, but there's all these beech trees in the way, look, and they're just unfortunately they're just in the way. I'd like to take them out, but that wouldn't be fair just for me to get a photo. But yeah, it's lovely here. I'm just really impressed with this. Unfortunately, it's a result of too much rain, so it's not ideal, but it's a find. Unfortunately, I've run out of time to take any more photos. I've spent too much time taking photos of that waterfall. And equally sorry, this isn't the most exhaustive review of this camera, but the truth is it does exactly what you want it to. It takes photos. And as I said, if you're someone that's looking to get into photography, dip your toe in photography, and don't have the resources that enable you to buy a more expensive camera, then for $50 or £50, you can't go wrong with this camera. It'll be able to take really nice photos at that price. You just cannot go wrong. If you want a camera that does video, because this doesn't do video, then the D3000 does video. So you pay a little bit more money, you can get video as well. But if photography is your aim, then you could buy this camera. Now, I know this isn't an exhaustive review, and I guess if you're looking to buy one of these, you'll probably read lots of websites and seen other video reviews. And I hope that my little go with this camera, as well as the others you've looked at, will give you a nice rounded view of whether this is a camera that would suit you and suit your needs and provide you with the information that you need. Thank you very much for watching. Indeed, thank you for getting this far. and good luck with any purchase of any camera you're going to buy. Obviously, if you like this review, if you like this, what I've been doing around the Wolds, then yeah, why not give the video a like? That would be amazing. And if you want to join along with me in my journey in photography and video, then why not subscribe to the channel, because that would be nice too. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.